Okay, so we're still working with our COP Hangout for making and tinkering, thinking about cardboard. And now Cate is going to talk to us about what they're doing down in Baton Rouge. So Cate.
Well, first of all, thank you. And I'm anxious to share with everybody what we're doing in Baton Rouge. And our focus is on early childhood education. And it's a little bit different from what everybody else is sharing on this Hangout because you're already established in a lot of museums. And we're an emerging museum here in Baton Rouge. So I'm going to share my screen now.
Okay.
And
while Cate's getting her screen, it's very, very true. Absolutely emerging. The museum hasn't been built yet, so it's exciting to get in on the ground floor with you like this.
Yes. Okay. So there?
Yeah, we can see it just fine.
And this is what it's going to look like when it's finished. We're scheduled to open next summer. And again, ours is focused on early childhood education, birth to age 8. And part of our mission is to be a community spark. And so we're really using this whole idea of cardboard to get out there and spark practices out in the schools and with families and everything. And in Baton Rouge and in Louisiana in August, we had a really terrible flood. And many hundreds of people lost their homes completely, and they're just in the rebuilding stages. And along with that, the children lost their toys too. And we really wanted to send a message out there and model for the community that you don't need a lot of expensive toys with fancy lights and gadgets and everything. You can get just as much fun and learning through cardboard. And so we pulled a team together, and for the Mini Maker Fair in Baton Rouge that was held last weekend, we decided to do the Knock Knock Out of the Box Cardboard Maker Shop. I know it's a mouthful, but it goes along with what we're trying to promote in the museum, and we're wanting to show people the kinds of things and prototype for the community, the kinds of things that we'll be doing in the museum. We partnered with LSU, which is about a mile from the museum, and also with an advocacy group called STEM Up Baton Rouge that works in promoting STEM practices in public schools here. So it was a success. We had 2,534 people come through our maker space in the public library between 10 and 4 one day. But
that's wonderful.
It was amazing. It got a little bit chaotic and crazy there, but everybody was so engaged, from the youngest children, and to see the adults just as engaged. I had some adults that came in with no children who stayed all day making and tinkering. And I had another group, a family that came in the morning, left at lunch, and came back with more kids and more cousins and nieces and nephews and grandkids. So yeah, and the only tears we really had during the day was when the kids didn't want to leave.
I can understand that for sure. It also speaks to the power of the cardboard box. I think it's a deeply human thing for all of us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to tell you a little bit about how we got to this point and sort of behind the scenes and getting it started. And especially if there are people out there who are emerging like us, or who are doing museums without walls, this might help in facilitating that. I'm an early childhood educator. I'm not a museum educator. I'm not a scientist. So I want to show that it's accessible and can be successful for everyone. So one of our partnerships was with LSU. And again, going back to that idea of being a community spark, we want these things to happen in classrooms. And so we went with LSU into their College of Human Sciences and Education and worked with their undergraduate students. And these were juniors who were in the field of early childhood education and who will be doing their student teaching next semester. So we went into their class, one of their courses that met from like 1:30 to 4:30, and we first introduced the idea of automata and linkages to them, and we let them explore and tinker and play with it. And you know, talking to the instructor, I heard her make a comment to somebody. She said, boy, this is really your wheelhouse. This is how you learn, right? I need to incorporate more of this kind of thing into my class. So it was really powerful. And so these students played with this, and with the hope that they're going to go out into their student teaching placement and do these kinds of activities in pre-K to third grade classrooms and introduce it to classroom teachers who may not be doing this already. Another really interesting thing about working with these early childhood classes is that part of their mission in the college is doing community service. So we tapped onto that and let them help us by preparing the cardboard and cutting up for the linkages and the automata. It was really wonderful. And the students loved it, absolutely loved it, and said, why can't we do this every class? And then also on LSU's campus, we have a K-12 school, a laboratory school, where they are also testing out ideas and prototyping for us things that will happen in the museum. So Paige Zitrauer on the left is actually our chairperson for our Knock Knock Maker Shop. And so she took on the linkages project, and so that we would have some examples to display in the Maker Fair. And what was unique about what she did with her kindergarten students was that she partnered with the high school junior art students. And they came together as teams, as buddies, and they worked together over 3 class periods, over a 3-week period of time, in helping us do the linkage project. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that later. And then the other thing with STEM Up Baton Rouge, we did the autonoma out in schools that have maker spaces in their elementary libraries. And this is a new grant for them from the East Baton Rouge Parish Foundation that they have just established these maker spaces in elementary libraries. And so we went out with them and worked with them in doing the autonoma project.
Oh, that's great. I can't tell you, I'm originally from Baton Rouge, so to see these
really, we'll talk later.
But I just want to flag something. I mean, you mentioned the partnerships, and of course those partnerships are important, but I think this is another area where we can have real impact. To have teachers who are early in their careers trained on the methodology of making and tinkering. Like, not only are you making a difference in this one event for the community, but think about all of the potential for future reach. Just that one interaction with those teachers has been, it's really great.
It's been fabulous. It's been fabulous. The partnership with LSU, I can't say enough about it. And just the trickle out effect of it, that they're going into classrooms and modeling for teachers, their supervising teacher who may not be doing it already. And they're saying, oh, it's okay. And the other thing I think about the whole museum is it's going to be a place where teachers can come and see these new tinkering activities, try it out, and feel safe and secure about doing it, and say, hey, I can do this, and go back into their classrooms where they can spend more time, because it takes time. It's not a one-shot deal, as you well know, coming into the museum for 20 minutes. Anyway, so because our emphasis birth through age 8 and children and their families, we wanted to make sure we had something for everyone. And so we sectioned off an area for infants and toddlers. And we made this big cardboard sensory tunnel where children crawled through or walked through. And it had all kinds of neat things. It had unbreakable mirrors and jingle bells and different textures to touch and feel, and furry pieces and twinkly lights hanging down. And then around the outside of it, we had little, the sides of it almost turned into 4 individual easels, and we put washable crayons out there for kids to decorate it. And you can see the little girl carrying around the cardboard box that we made. We made several of these because toddlers like to pick things up, put them in, take them out, pick things up, put them in, take them out. And we had a washer and dryer made out of cardboard. And they used that, and they picked the clothes up off, and we had some clothes that they picked up and put them in the little box and dumped them in the washing machine. And then over on the right hand side, you can see that the infant playing with a whole stack of just the 6x6 cubes that we had left over from the Autonoma project. And they built and they knocked down and they built and they knocked down all day long, and we're just as happy as can be. And so they were really exploring the physical properties of cardboard at this very early age. So it was just phenomenal. They really loved that and they appreciated it, and it kept them, you know, we didn't want them in the space with all the dangerous tools and sharp things and small pieces that we had. So this was a way that they could see what was happening and still be a part of the whole Maker Faire.
Yeah, nice to have the whole family be able to participate.
Yeah, and you can see it behind this fence. So we had it fenced off for where they couldn't crawl over into the other part, but they could still be part of it. And this is how we, a piece of how we organized our cardboard. We collected about a month in advance. And after the flood, that's one thing we have lots of is cardboard, with people getting new materials coming in. And, you know, classrooms were flooded too, and teachers lost all their materials. And so we have lots and lots of cardboard coming in. We even had that big roll of corrugated cardboard. I thought I was ordering one of these small things, and I ordered 3 of them, and it turned out to be these huge coffee table size things. So it worked out great. And this is the area, and Karen, you posted on Twitter the cardboard attachments sign, and we took that from you. We learned from it, and it was really helpful. This was an area where we had an open make session. Most of this space was about the open make, and if you can dream it, if you can imagine it, you can make it. And we wanted to put a few things out there as inspiration, not a whole lot. And we also had an iPad up there rolling with examples of things. And you know, I was worried a little bit that people would want to replicate it exactly, and they didn't. It was more of, oh, there's a mask. I can make a mask, or oh, I can make a helmet too. Mine's going to look like this. So it wasn't an exact trying to replicate exactly. We had so many materials out there that it left the imagination wide open, and the problem solving that went on in just attaching cardboard was amazing. And when they tried to hook that cardboard tube perpendicular to a piece of cardboard, we were able to refer them to this way of attaching and look at these ideas and how could you, which one of these could we use to attach that to make it sturdier and more stable.
Yeah, I think that really solidifies, you know, going from 2D to 3D, it's not trivial, especially for young ones, but to be able to have a few examples, but think that through together, that's part of the fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of the problem solving of it. Mm-hmm. And then we had a lot of tools out, and this was sort of our, we had stations for our cold temp glue guns and different things for attaching. Now, when you talk about tools on all of, you know, from your fundamentals of tinkering course I took to looking at your various Google Hangouts, with an early childhood lens, I try to think about, all right, what does this look like in early childhood? How can this work with very young children? And so some of the tools that were really successful with the young ones were these clever cutters, these child-safe cardboard cutters. The children felt very, very empowered. They were about $1.99. I ordered them off of Amazon. They're colorful, and they can do it. And their fingers can't get up there in the blade. You can't change the blade, so they're not, you know, once the blade gets dull, you sort of have to throw them away. But at that price, it's doable.
And they're remarkably, I mean, they grip well in little hands or big hands, and surprisingly cut quite well for a long time.
And they can do curved lines really well. You know, it's a little tricky if the cardboard is worn a bit. So just helping them get it started was very helpful. The trauma scissors or bandage scissors worked really well, and the kids felt very successful using those in cutting cardboard. They were able to manipulate them, and it worked well. I can't say enough about low temp glue guns. I discovered these last year, and it has been an eye opener. And whereas Elmer's glue, I don't want to, the glue takes a long time. We didn't have any glue in there. It takes a long time to dry, and children get frustrated. This is instant success. And the tip of that cold temp glue gun is protected, and we use the super low temperature glue sticks along with it, and it may get warm, and if they touch it, they sort of go, oh, you know, and you see a little shock on it, but it doesn't burn them. We also use some of the battery operated ones. We use what do you call it? I mean, rechargeable batteries.
Oh, yeah.
Rechargeable batteries. So I probably went on each one of the low temp battery. I probably went through 3 cycles of rechargeable batteries during the course of the day. Huh. So those were nice because if the children couldn't go straight over to that gluing station, they could take those to their bigger projects. And Ryan Marino in Florida showed me this trick of using Christmas cookie tins, and we're very intentional when teaching children how to use the tools, and how after they've glued, put it down in the tin, and don't walk around with the glue gun while you're trying to put items on your project. So that was very helpful too.
It is. It helps minimize, the mess too. All of the leftover
yes.
glue stays in one place. But also, we use that technique with our high temp glue guns too. And you're just minimizing the chances for people to burn themselves. And
yes,
it keeps it tidy as well. And
yes.
people know where to find them.
Yes, absolutely. We used cardboard rivets. These were McGroovy rivets for bigger projects. They didn't use them as much as I thought they would, but if I noticed, and as we facilitated and moved around, if I saw somebody struggling with something, trying to attach it, I would, reach back and introduce them to the rivets for attaching. For the most part, they did tape and the cold temp glue guns, but if they were stuck, we gave them some of these as well.
These things aren't intuitive, but they're really fun, to be able to have, and for sort of engineering and motion elements, they're essential. But yeah, they're just less intuitive. So.
They're less intuitive, and they come in 2 different lengths of the legs. A longer one, I wish I would have bought all long legs to get through the 2 pieces of cardboard to attach, because sometimes it was tricky finding the other piece.
Yeah, that's a good tip, actually.
Yeah. And then we had to get that rivet in a hole, we had to have some tools for poking those holes. And we had some insulation board out there, and we had some bamboo skewers, which worked for some. We had some golf tees, which were a little bit awkward, but for some things it worked. And then an adult tool that we had sort of hidden were the awls. And if I saw somebody struggling, I pulled it out from underneath behind something. It wasn't out for children, and handed it to the adult, showed them how to use it, and then they brought it back to me afterwards. Yes, we were a little bit afraid of putting those out for children's use, but they are incredibly easy to use and helpful too.
We do use those in the tinkering studio, and I'm always a little bit afraid that one's going to roll off the table and land on my foot. But I was like the other things that you had, the glue guns and the trauma scissors, and using real tools can actually be pretty thrilling for kids. And
oh, absolutely. And when you tell them this is a very sharp object that that you're going to be using, and let's talk about how to use it, and to teach them to use it. I've had my grandkids use it with quite a lot of success.
Yeah.
I worried more about them walking around with it
and dropping
and dropping it or poking somebody else with it.
Yeah.
So
And I will add just one other tip that Mike taught me, but using a wood screw, they're actually a little bit sharp on the end, and you can really get a lot of leverage in terms of twisting them. Those poke holes really well in cardboard. That's what we use for building our automata, to start holes.
And what length did you use? Because I'm
I
wondering
don't
about
know. I mean, sometimes we just grab whatever's on hand. I mean, really you can use tiny ones, but if they're a little bit longer, kids that just have less dexterity can grip onto them easier. So
that was what I was wondering about, how young children would do it,
yep.
and if they could hold on to it. So I'm gonna try it out.
Okay, good.
And then we set up back to this open make area. We had 2 islands that we really wanted it to be attractive, the environment to be attractive. And we covered the tables to get more of the ambiance of cardboard with brown paper. And we found some cardboard pots, flower pots that we put materials in. But I want to draw your attention to the tinkering trays, which I just love. And I think it'd be worked well in classrooms, and I've seen them in classrooms. And but we had 4 of these out on these 2 different islands. These are actually cutlery drawers that you might put in a kitchen, and they expand out. And we just filled them with all kinds of things. And this one, we've got felt and Mardi Gras beads and googly eyes and feathers. And the kids love these drink umbrellas. They put them on everything. I had scenes, people making beach scenes with pipe cleaner people laying on the beach with these little umbrellas, and we had flag ones too, cupcake papers, and the little glass beads or jewels that were a little bit bigger, and some of the other things. We had we had some things from nature with just sticks and little things from trees and different things. So
your colored tape rolls are fantastic.
They are, and they loved them. They absolutely loved them. And we put them on the edge, and that was another thing we had to teach them how to do, is to tear tape off of a tape roll. Yeah. Just showing them that technique of pulling down and to the side, that it's something you have to teach them. Yeah. So it's a good skill for them to learn to use in other projects. So this whole idea of attaching things is important. And they came up with wonderful things. They were very imaginative. We had flip-flops and lots of armor. And I loved the little cardboard box people over to the side. And it was just an amazing assortment of things. And we have all of these pictures posted on our Facebook page at knockknockmuseum.org. I mean, on Knock Knock Facebook page, if you want to see more ideas of what children came up with and created.
That's great.
And this station was our automata station. The examples were the ones that were made back in that makerspace in a library, their very first project. And they didn't have a lot of time to tinker and refine, so these were very simple. We also, if you see down on the bottom right, we looked at what you did at the Exploratorium with your examples of the different cams, and we made some of them for them to tinker with and to see. And so in this makerspace, Maker Faire situation that got sort of chaotic, they really didn't have time to really get deep and explore. And so we also made these little take-home kits. They could make one there, but they could take it home, and it had some instructions and links to websites and templates for the cams that they could take home and spend more time with their family playing and tinkering with it.
Oh, how nice. Can you share kind of the things that were inside the bag, and maybe even a close-up of that poster? I'll put that on the COP site for people too. It's a really nice example of a way to kind of invite further exploration of automata too.
Yes, I'll be glad to. And I have to tell you, we have a new AmeriCorps member that's working for us from Knock Knock, and I will give her all the credit for the signage. And her background is in art and graduated from art, and she just joined us, and this was her first project, learning how to do this. So we were really, really thrilled to have her aboard with us. And I will share with you, it was all the pieces, the cardboard, the dowel, a piece of foam, of the thick foam, and templates.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it worked well. and a piece of the paper straws. And here they are, the ones that wanted to make them on the spot, and that's with our STEM Up crew. And the man in the red checkered shirt is actually from IBM, who partners with STEM Up Baton Rouge, an engineer, and he came and helped. So everybody was involved, and we got the community and businesses involved as well. And here's one of the ones on the left with his autonoma, very proud. And here's another one on the right with her haunted castle.
It's a good time of year for that.
Yes, that was very inspirational. And then onto the linkage board. This turned out so pretty and so wonderful. And this whole project from the beginning to the end was just wonderful. And again, our AmeriCorps member made the linkage sign to just show the very simplest way to make a scissor linkage. And that's what really ended up happening. We had the strips of cardboard, the little cardboard pots with the brads in it. And at this station, we want them to make the linkage here and then take it back over to the islands of art materials to decorate. But how we got to all of these is what's pretty fascinating. So back to the LSU lab school with Paige Zitrauer and her kindergarten class. She first met with the kindergarten students and their junior art buddies, and they read the book Frady Zoo by Thyra Heder. And this is a book, it's really delightful. It's a story of this child, little T right there in the middle, whose family wanted to go to the zoo, and she was really afraid. And the family was trying to get her to express which animal that she was afraid of. And so they went through the alphabet, starting with A and worked all the way to Z and saying, was it this animal that moves like this? And then the family started creating these costumes, many of which using cardboard, loose parts, sheets, and imitated the animals. Here's a rhinoceros down at the bottom. Was it this one? And she's saying, nope. Nope, nope, through every animal until they got to Z. And once they got to Z, she said, okay, I'll go to the zoo. Well, it turns out that it wasn't any of the animals that she was afraid of at all. She was afraid of the ticket lady who had these really long fingernails and horn-rimmed glasses.
I didn't know if you were going to give it away. I love the book. And I love the connection to cardboard. That's so great.
It was great. I didn't know if I wanted to give it away or not. But the family ran off and they had their own zoo at home with all of these cardboard things. And so this book was the inspiration. And one thing I think about in the primary grades and in early childhood, literacy is such a focus. And if we want these practices to get into classrooms, sometimes we need to start with literacy and use it as an inspiration or as a hook, and being able to integrate these ideas into their curriculum. So
this is a really clever literacy connection, not just, definitely for the cardboard use, but especially linkages, because the book goes into kind of what animals do, and it just lends itself to the types of construction that kids are going to be doing. It's really terrific.
Absolutely, absolutely. So after Paige introduced this to the kindergartner students and their partner, they got together and they have sketchbooks, and they brainstormed. Paige handed out letters of the alphabet to each team. They brainstormed all the animals, talked about how they moved, and then sketched the ones that they decided that they would create. And then at the next time they met, the first thing they did was use their bodies to move like the animal and really think and concentrate on how that animal moved. And what both the teacher and the art teacher did was referred to, at this point, you're going to be making a skeleton with the cardboard. So think about how that moved and about the animal skeleton and what that might look like. And that was pretty powerful. And it really unlocked them. They knew what the word skeleton was more than they knew what a linkage was.
Yeah,
so,
linkage is a funny word. That's a really nice way to, well, to get them to think kinesthetically, but also to relate to that word a little bit more.
Yeah, and to hook it to their prior knowledge. It was very important. And so that unlocked a key to them to creating these things. And so they referred to their sketches. They made those linkages with the cardboard, and they didn't just stick to the scissored linkage. We did not show them any examples going into this at all, other than we showed them how to, connect the cardboard and make the basic scissor linkage. But we said you could create any way you wanted to. And then the next time they met, they did a further iteration. They refined, they tried to make it better, and then they decorated. And they enjoyed doing that. And for the most part, they came out really well. But I do have to say that there were a couple of them that over-decorated. And not meaning anything bad. They were beautiful, but the linkage couldn't move. They put so much decoration on it. So much decoration, they taped the things together. But it was a chance for them to learn and for us to come back. And I think if we would have had one more week, we would have sat them down and really talked about that and see what we could do to get that motion back in. So it ended up here are the families at the Maker Faire creating their linkages, looking at what the examples were, and then taking them over. You can see we even had some of the awls over there with a family making holes after we ran out of all the strips that we had created previously. And at the end of the day, this is what our beautiful table of inviting materials look like. But everyone had a wonderful time, and it was just a fabulous day. And we look forward to doing this in the museum once we open.
That's great. I mean, I definitely think, the aftermath, it's true. This stuff can get messy, but I think getting our staff and just ourselves comfortable with a little bit more mess, it doesn't stay that way, but it can seem a little chaotic at times.
Yes, it seems chaotic, but we tried to go throughout the day, all of our volunteers, keeping things a little bit organized without interrupting the play. And we want children to be independent and to be able to find the materials and the tools that they want and to use them as independently. So when the choices are clear, it made it a little bit better. And it was interesting how when those tinkering trays would empty out, I had, bags of stuff under a table, and I'd come back and I'd just dump something new into that, whether it was some little shiny jewel or some little item from nature. And they're thinking, you could watch it change, almost spin on a dime, and they would think about, how could I incorporate that into this? So it was just terrific.
Exactly. It's like, I've got an idea for this. Well, I think the way you set up the room too in sort of framing the different types of activities went a long way, throughout the day, I'm sure. So, yeah. Yes.
I mean, and we go back and we reflect, okay, what worked and what didn't work. I had a whole table of paper on another wall, just moving things and have all of it, because the people with the linkages had to go find the paper. So putting some more things out a little bit closer to the activities on the ends would have helped us a lot. But next time.
Exactly. Paying attention to all those details. Well, thank you again so much for sharing, just sharing your experiences with us. And I absolutely love what you've done with linkages. This is another example of an idea that we've shared across the COP. And with each different take, I pick up new insights along the way. And there were many, many that you did today. I really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you sharing with us in the field and who are newbies at this, how to do it. The fundamentals of tinkering. And I see that you've got a new something coming up next summer that I can't wait to sign up for. I'll be the first one to sign up.
It's motions and mechanisms, so it's perfectly in keeping with what you're doing. So thank you so much, and we'll keep going.
Okay, great. Thank you.